Modern scholars of the general theory of the state tend to frame society with government and laws, assuming the onset of a kind of barbarism in the absence of the state, where men would exterminate each other in an animalistic manner. The film industry has certainly helped to entrench this notion, illustrating for us with countless allegories a supposed total disharmony whenever there was a society not controlled by authoritarianism. Indeed, the seventh art has produced countless films with these premises, often using pre-colonial America as a backdrop. But the truth is, it wasn't so wild. Nevertheless, we could discuss this topic on another occasion. In this study, I turned my attention to something equally ancient, situated on the old continent, prior to the Great Navigations, during the High Middle Ages and sealed with Italian unification in the late 18th century. In that same region, multiple city-states existed that, over the centuries, remained sovereign and independent. I speak of the Kingdom of Sicily, the Kingdom of Sardinia, the Republic of Genoa, the Republic of Venice, the Papal State, the Republic of Florence, among other principalities and wealthy duchies. However, what I now focus on is the Republic of Cospaia, a small nation that could be considered an example of an anarcho-capitalist society. The history of this peculiar republic will surprise many, as it bore little resemblance to the violent medieval world of that time, which was constantly bathed in blood. Located between the Papal States and the Republic of Florence, Cospaia had no government, laws, police, prisons, or taxes. And incredibly, it existed for almost 4 centuries, from before the discovery of Brazil until 1826. To be more precise, the birth of the Republic of Cospaia resulted from a cartographic error. In 1431, Pope Eugene IV, in need of financial resources, borrowed 25,000 florins from Giovanni de' Medici, the famous Florentine banker. As security for repayment, the pontiff pledged the town of Buco Sansco, located in the Upper Tiber Valley. 9 years passed, and without being able to repay the debt, Pope Eugene IV was forced to hand over the town and its surroundings to the Republic of Florence. Both parties sent surveyors to demarcate the new boundaries and agreed that the new border would be a river. However, Rio in Latin means river, and many watercourses in that region shared this name. Thus, by a great mistake, the surveyors of the Papal States chose a river called Rio, while the Florentine surveyors selected another, also named Rio, to establish the boundary. Between these two rivers remained a piece of land, the region of Cospaia, which, consequently, escaped the jurisdiction of both parties. The inhabitants of Cospaia, although mostly illiterate, seized the opportunity and immediately declared independence. Neither the Papal States nor Florence wanted to renegotiate the borders, nor did they try to integrate Cospaia into their territories. The cartographic error became the freedom of the peasant residents of that small village. In 1484, the independence of the Republic of Cospaia was officially recognized throughout the old European world. The Republic had no army, no prisons, no laws, no taxes. Only a simple council of elders, composed of family patriarchs, occasionally met in the Church of the Annunciation, where the Latin inscription can still be seen today, Perpetua et firma libertas, perpetual and firm freedom. This council was not, in fact, a government. It was like the old Roman curie existing before the creation of the Senate. An assembly convened only to make decisions and resolve disputes. Despite not having a legislator or leader nor rules to follow, there are no records that Cospaia was a violent place. On the contrary, throughout its history, it attracted many people. From the beginning, its economy was based on the buying, selling, and exchanging of goods. Many from the surrounding areas were drawn by the absence of taxes, regulations, and arbitration. The men and women of Cospaia did not live under any dogma, thus they did not fear pursuing their dreams and doing what they considered most pleasant or profitable. They were not obliged to waste time with duties for lords and kings, nor risk their lives in wars that only interested the nobility. They also did not have to sacrifice part of their work to enrich the public administration. Everyone took care of their own, and even the streets had an owner. People lived in peace with each other or simply did not live. Intransigence would make everything unworkable, so automatically everyone preferred to live in peace to make everything flow. In 1574, Cospaia received a gift from a Parisian cardinal from the New World, tobacco seeds. Tobacco seeds arrived in Europe from the Americas only a few years ago and quickly became a fascinating novelty for Europeans. Tobacco, with its miraculous leaves, soon gained popularity for its medicinal properties, being effective against inflammations and headaches. Dried, the leaves could also be smoked, chewed, and even sniffed. When tobacco reached Cospaia, its acceptance was rapid and widespread. Cospaian tobacco gained prominence, valued for the excellent quality provided by the regional soil and climate, making Cospaia a prosperous trading center. In 1624, something significant happened with regard to tobacco. Pope Urban issued a severe decree, threatening to excommunicate those who used tobacco in churches. Although it seemed like a measure of little impact, the way information circulated at that time, and the difficulty in verifying its veracity, generated various rumors about possible excommunication, which affected the production and consumption of tobacco. False rumors and increasingly strict regulations by other popes only increased restrictions on tobacco in the Papal States and Florence. However, the prohibitions that affected neighboring nations had no effect on the Republic of Cospaia. Free from papal restrictions, Cospaia prospered, becoming the capital of tobacco. Thanks to these prohibitions, Cospaia began supplying tobacco to the entire region without taxes, establishing itself as a haven for merchants. Cospaian tobacco, famous for its quality, maintained an enviable reputation among smokers, even after the fall of the Republic. Another factor that contributed to the economic prosperity of Cospaia was its policy of non-discrimination in commerce. At a time when Jewish populations were subject to government sanctions, prohibited from trading with Christians or owning property, Cospaia offered refuge and freedom. Many tobacco warehouses in the Republic were owned by Jews from all over Italy. In the 18th century, the small republic faced the great Napoleon Bonaparte and resisted. See, my friends, what people are capable of, acting in good faith and united by ideals. Napoleon and his army withdrew from the region to avoid an even greater embarrassment. The economic success of Cospaia began to arouse the envy of greedy neighbors. The Papal States and Florence boycotted trade, aiming to absorb Cospaian profits. Corresponding for a long time, Pope Leo XII and the Grand Duke of Tuscany orchestrated the subjugation of Cospaia. In 1826, the citizens were forced to sign an act of subjugation under the threat of severe consequences. Thus, Cospaia was incorporated into the Papal States, and each citizen received a silver coin bearing the image of Pope Leo XII as compensation for the loss of liberty. The coin, ironic and bitter, was called a pape, referring to the meager value received. The Supreme Pontiff, revealing himself as a worse usurper than Napoleon, initiated a process of integration that took several decades, culminating in a terrible bloodbath from 1848 to 1871, with the unification of Italy. Cospaia, now part of the Papal State, was forced to integrate into modern Italy. Yet, Cospaia, even though it was no longer a free republic, left a legacy of self-government, a prosperous anarchist republic that flourished with a free market and private property. The brave Cospians, although illiterate, enriched themselves through the sweat of their brows and resisted in glory for 386 years. It is not a failed anarcho-communist society like the infamous Marxist capital that emerged in the USA in 2020, marked by violence and disorganization. In other parts of the world, this symptomatic leads to a shortage of goods. The Free Republic of Cospaia teaches us that voluntarism works, that good ideas do not require force, and that another way of organizing society is possible. It shows us that we do not need large governments to live well and in peace. That self-governance is possible without so many rules and regulations as they want to convince us. Especially now, when governments around the world are bigger than ever and tyrants obsessed with power and central control try to reshape our world. The history of the Free Republic of Cospaia can inspire us to reimagine and reshape the world we want to leave for our descendants, even if Cospaia no longer exists as a sovereign and free republic.